Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live. I am your host, Stevie Clifford, and joined tonight by the OG, the original Kenny Stewart. Kenny, how are you, mate? You well? You good?
I'm not bad, mate. I hope you're well. Very little to talk about, so we gave everybody a night off. Thought we'd do it ourselves, didn't we? Because there's very little to discuss.
There isn't a whole lot to discuss, folks. We will try and give you all the latest transfer targets and transfer news. We'll talk a wee bit about the weekend games, and we'll do our best to give you a show. It's getting to that time, isn't it? In the summer, Kenny, where information's very low. All the players are away on that break for that 4 weeks, so we'll do our best and see what we come up with.
It's very difficult World Cup year, isn't it? It takes over. The transfer market is pretty much at a standstill until teams start getting knocked out, I would think. Apart from the very elite players, they'll come and go. But to get it moving, it's got to filter down, hasn't it? So once teams start getting knocked out, you'll probably find that will kick it off properly. But at this minute in time, I think Andrew Cavanagh had said something about that. It would need to be a local kind of signing to happen before the World Cup starts, i.e. Lauren Shankland. But apart from that, I don't think we're going to see huge amounts happening very quickly.
No, there's plenty of players and things linked. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start tonight with just a wee bit of sad news. Just found out this evening that those of you that use social media might know a guy that posts very frequently on Rangers Twitter and things, called Obenlad1970, by the name of Chris. Very good guy, loved the football club. Sadly has passed away. He leaves a very young family. Really, really heartbreaking news. So we send our best, Kenny and I, to all his family and all his friends. It's quite, it triggers you a wee bit when I've had loads of conversations in my time on Twitter and at Four Lads and everything with Chris, and sometimes falling out, sometimes but we all wanted the same thing, and that was Rangers to win. So really terrible news. Not nice to start the show off with that kind of news, but our thoughts are definitely with the family and loved ones. Kenny, moving to transfer speculation, there's been plenty of it. First up, Jack Butland linked tonight with Nottingham Forest. I hate to be somewhat curt and maybe a bit, don't know, but my first thought was, how far is Nottingham going to drive him down the road? But if Forest are interested in taking Jack Butland off our hands, then it could be an answer to a question that we've been beginning to ask ourselves more frequently in the last few weeks.
Well, it is one of those things. I hadn't heard that till you'd come on there and we were discussing it. But I've got finding myself at a crossroads, if you understand that. There's a number of players there that I just feel have been there a little bit too long, haven't been overly successful. And if I'm being honest, I think Jack Butland, although I like him, I think he's a decent enough goalkeeper. I think he's one that you would look at and think, if there is interest elsewhere, it would be in everybody's best interests if he perhaps thought about moving on, because if you're being blunt about this, Stevie, I think we need a new keeper. I think we found a fair few flaws in his game over the last couple of years that I think he's just too old to iron them out, Stevie. I think his distribution's pretty poor. I think his shot stopping when it's been close to his feet last season has been pretty appalling. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's been a wee conversation, because I think he's only got a year left, hasn't he, on his contract. So I think it might well be that both parties might well be kind of agreeable to the possibility of moving on, and Jack's not getting any younger. If he's getting a Premier League side, I'm sure he'll be second or third choice goalkeeper. So it's you'll get good money down the Premier League if that's what happens, Stevie. I don't know how you feel yourself, but that's kind of my take on it. That I think we need a new goalkeeper, and I think we need a slightly younger goalkeeper who is better with the ball at his feet, Stevie.
Yeah, look, I think that's all fair. Okay, here's where I am with Jack Butland. Really likeable guy, likeable goalkeeper. Somebody that I really want to do well, should be a safe pair of hands, should be somebody we are not even discussing. But sadly, the truth is that he's made too many mistakes. He's threw in too many goals. And it's the shots that you expect him to save that he just doesn't save. We started kind of focusing on this, I think, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago when the goal against Motherwell happened and it was down at his feet. And then the one against Hibs as well, the first one, I think it was Boyle. And he doesn't move his feet quick enough. And I think that the biggest issue for me is that I just don't think he's good enough with the ball at his feet either. A lot of the times, I go back, Kenny, remember we talked about this a lot. I'll go back to that cup game against Celtic 2-0 up, and he just continued with shelling the ball long and out of play, and it just kept coming back to us. I just don't think that's good enough for us. I like him. I don't think he's as worse as people made out, or I had a kind of conversation with the guy on that pod that night. I don't think he's the worst goalkeeper Rangers ever had. Jack Butland makes spectacular saves. The issue that Jack Butland's got is the ones that you expect him to be bread and butter, he's making an arse of. And there's been too many of them. Even if you look back at the Scottish Cup final a couple of years ago when he kind of fumbled it out and stuff like that, there's been too many mistakes by Jack. Jack's on a high earner. And here's the other thing as well, Kenny. There needs to be a wee bit of ruthlessness surrounding Rangers this summer, because we've tried it and tried it and tried it and it's not worked. So, Tav's gone, Dowell's gone, the leadership group, Liam Kelly is absolutely fine. John Souttar, well, we can see what happens with John Souttar. But I don't think, keeping 3 or 4 out of the leadership group is really making massive changes. I think Jack might be one that's sacrificed as well to make those bigger changes. And for that reason, as well as the whole form thing, age, money value, etc., I'm not against Jack Butland moving on. He goes with our thanks, but I just don't. See, if you look at Jack Butland overall, you're probably a wee bit disappointed with his time at Rangers. And that's the truth. He's made a lot of high categorically big errors. And that's, sadly, I think that's kind of where we are with him. Is it time for the whole feeling of the dressing room and everything else to move him on? I think that's where we are.
Yes, in a word, yes, I agree. But what we've got is a situation where I found myself noticing about Jack Butland that, see, when he first got here, Stevie, there had been a criticism of Alan McGregor not coming for crosses, and he was going out of his way to come out and collect crosses. And after about 6-7 months, it just stopped, and he's not come out for those crosses the way you want a goalkeeper to. I think the final nail in that coffin was down at Old Trafford, if you remember, where he came out and punched it into his own net. And I've rarely seen him come out and try and collect one, or if he has tried to collect one, invariably he's not particularly done very well with it. So there's a number of elements about Jack Butland's game now that might well just be past its best. I agree with you in terms of the kind of leadership group. I've been saying it for a long time. I think it needs emptied, if I'm being honest. But again, I'll say that I just feel that we don't have a spine. You've just said this before. The spine of the team is lacking. And I think that's what needs pretty much replaced through the summer. I just feel that anybody that's been there over the last 3-4 years, Stevie, we need to look at moving the majority of them on, because the cycle has not been a good one, and we need to kind of break this cycle and get new players in as many positions as we can, and get that chemistry that Andrew Kavanagh was talking about back in that dressing room and back out onto that pitch. And yeah, there'll be sacrificial lambs all over the place, I think, actually, in the summer, Stevie. That's what I would say. I think that there'll be honest conversations when offers come in. You know, when two Rangers will be turning around and saying to an awful lot of players that perhaps are quite content, well, you might be better if you consider your future, because we're not going to guarantee you a place next season, I beg your pardon, which has got to be, as you say, it's what we've been calling on for in here for quite a while, Stevie. It's that ruthlessness. We need to be far, far more cutting when it comes to our decisions.
Yeah. I think what I would say about Jack is I thought Jack was absolutely outstanding at the start of the season. It actually feels like about 8 years ago, but Russell Martin being in charge, it was like 3 seasons in one last year. But Russell Martin's time in charge, Jesus, Jack was the busiest guy in the world, wasn't he? He was like constantly, he had about 40 shots every 10 minutes. So, I just think he the more the season went on, the more he went downhill. But we'll wait and see with that one. Would we get a big fee for Jack at 33? I doubt it. What I would say about Jack Butland is Jack Butland could go and do what the boy at Man City did and just basically hung about until he was 40, or Scott Carson, wasn't it? And just won medal after medal and did absolutely nothing for it and got the odd game in training. You know, English goalkeepers down south are an invaluable quality because of the coefficient and everything else. So, and the European.
It's an English player.
Homegrown, isn't he? Because he's homegrown. So, like the third goalie for them down there's always got to be English. So, I think Butland will get a move, no problem at all if we were to go. But replacing him, look, as much as we've criticised him, replacing him was a big job because he does have that stature. So it's another position that I do consider us to need a goalkeeper. We've said it for a while. As much as I do like Jack and I'll defend Jack, I'm not ignorant and completely naive enough to say that he's wonderful. So that's interesting. Another one who has spoke about is Rangers' future, Kenny, is Bojan Miovski. He said he wanted to play more, so he can't really rule anything out. He has a 3-year deal with Rangers. I think Bojan Miovski done okay, but overall I was pretty let down by Bojan Miovski. He scored what? I think he got 15. Say he got, somebody will be able to tell me. I'm sure it was somewhere between 12 to 15 goals last year, but he wasn't exactly sparkling, was he? I thought we were getting this guy that ran behind and was all powerful, but he wasn't. And that's fine. Sometimes it can take a wee while or a few years at Rangers or whatever, but I just didn't think Bojan Miovski was fantastic. I don't think he's in any position to be demanding of first team starts. I think Yusuf Chermiti has improved beyond. Shankland's ahead of him. And probably Nadiri's ahead of him as well, because Danny Rowe will want Ryan Nadiri to play. Miovski's capable. I mean, he's had some good strikes. I would want more from him, but how much realistically is he going to play? I think Bojan Miovski at this very moment in time is 4th choice striker at Rangers. Having paid, 2.8 million for him. If somebody comes in with money, I seen he was linked with Hearts, but Hearts aren't giving us 4 million for Bojan Miovski, which is in the region of what we would want. 13 goals according to Liam as well, so I kind of thought he would be there and thereabouts. He doesn't get beyond Chermiti, Nadiri or Shankland for me, Kenny, so he is 4th choice. We probably need 4, but is he happy to stick around? It wasn't one of these interviews where it was overly convincing that he was massively happy or anything. It was more one of these ones where if I get the opportunity, I might be moving on. So I found that interesting.
Seems like quite an unsettled player, because he did that when he was in Spain, didn't he? He was very quick to kind of complain. So listen, I said it last week to you, Stevie, that I genuinely believe that he'll be the 4th choice next season, and that'll be that. And I couldn't envisage Bojan Miovski, who's an international player at the end of the day, kind of settling for that. I think he would like to go and play football. I wouldn't be selling up my Hearts. If Hearts want him, I would tell them they're paying through the nose for it. You don't. This might sound a bit facetious, but you don't go giving your rivals your best players, do you? And what would be the point of us taking Shankland for them to take one of our strikers? It makes no sense to me. I don't know, mate. I just look at this and think, well, yeah, this doesn't surprise me in any way that he has looked at this and went, well, that's then brought Lawrence Shankland in. I'm going to drop down the pecking order. He's definitely going to play because he's Scottish, is probably what he's thinking. And I'm not convinced that Lawrence Shankland's going to play every game either, because I do think the Chermiti and Nadiri partnership had showed great signs when Nadiri was fit. So there will be rotation, but for me, it's if you could get your money back on Bojan Miovski, I would be very inclined to take it and try and get another younger striker in, Stevie. That's what I would be looking at. Perhaps even the young boy Bannister at Falkirk or something like that wouldn't go amiss, where he would probably learn his trade at Ibrox, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do, but how many people are coming to this? It all depends, I think, on what happens with Chermiti as well. At some point, somebody's going to bid a lot of money for him, and we're going to be accepting it. I seen he was linked with a loan move out. Just forget that. That's never happened. So that's just pie in the sky nonsense. I would just be telling Miovski to pipe down and show what he's got to do in training, if all honesty. If we're going to be playing two up front as well, which I think is likely next year under rule, I think we will go two up. Probably not go two up in many games, but we'll go two players up front. But I think he's, being fourth choice in two isn't terrible. Fourth choice in one seems a million miles away. So we'll just need to watch what we're doing. But players linked in, Kenny, this one took my eye. Casper Wedell was linked, 23-year-old Swedish captain of Excelsior in Holland. I went and texted our very good friend Kai Watson. So huge shout out to Kai. Go and follow Kai on socials. He does all this sort of stuff to give us a kind of percentages. He's won 69% of his defensive duels, 3.36 per 90. 60% of aerial duels won, 5.31 per 90. 6.35 interceptions per 90. 85% pass accuracy. 6.32 passes to the final third per 90, and 8.92 progressive passes. So for all you people like me out there who are going, what the fuck's he talking about? That basically means he's pretty good on the ball. So he will try to make between 6 to 10 progressive passes straight to the forwards to advanced players, which is great because we never have anybody up there anyway. And he also intercepts 6 or 7 times a game. He wins 60% of his headers and he wins 70% of his tackles. So hopefully that gives you that. He's 23, Kenny. He's played every level of Swedish football apart from the top Swedish side. The last Swedish centre-half I think we had was Karl Svensson, and he was a total diddy. But we have had Jockey Bjorklund.
Hollander.
Aye, but right, listen, I was about to talk about Big Phil. I hadn't forgotten about him, I think. We had Big Jockey Bjorklund, who was exceptional, and we had Big Phil, who was brilliant. I quite like the look of Casper Wedell. He's at a good age, 23 years old. He's a captain of his side, good in the air, powerful. I'm not going to sit here and be an expert. I think we're all kind of worried about the Robin Proper effect because he was dog shit. Did score against them, though. But he was no good. I can't ask you much about this guy because it's not like we know much, is it? But I suppose for the whole kind of, I don't know, the overall picture and the kind of profile, I suppose it fits what we're looking at. Chris Jack has confirmed that he has a name that Rangers are looking at. Don't know much else.
My understanding is that he's on a list of names at centre-half. We've got quite a number of them that we're looking at. It's a good profile, Stevie. It's a good age. getting a centre half at 23 with that kind of amount of experience, where he's played for, I think it's Helsingborg he played for in Sweden, and he's been over there in Holland for a while as well. So he's got good experience for a young man. He's a big, powerful boy, apparently. As you say, comes forward with the ball. I think he's a right centre half. I'm sure he is. And it's interesting that we're looking to build there, because we've only, at the end of the day, we've only got two centre halves at this moment in time on the book, Steve. We've only got John Souttar and Manny Fernandez, so we're going to have to sign another two anyway. That for me is one of those things that I would look at and think, I'm always a little bit wary of signing from the Dutch league, because I'm never quite sure about that. It's a league that I never watch, and the amount of players that come over from that league and don't particularly impress. When the Dutch are clearly very technical and talented, and that's the kind of thing that I can never understand when they come here. A lot of them don't settle. And I know he's not Dutch, that's what I'm saying. He's Swedish, so it should be easier for him to settle here, I would imagine. But I'm not sure, because I just have never seen him, Steve. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about the guy, because Excelsior I had barely heard of. I do faintly remember the name, but I think they're from Rotterdam or something like that. Volendam or Rotterdam, I'm not sure. But don't know anything about them, mate. Simple as that. I can't enlighten you in any way.
Could be Rotterdam or anywhere, couldn't it, Kenny?
A song about that, mate.
Yeah, there is. Right, okay. Let's get serious again. I'm sorry. Linked as well, Kenny, to Sunderland goalkeeper today that went on loan at Millwall. This isn't on your agenda, and I can't remember the boy's name. I think it's Patterson. He went on loan, and his link was. So I was reading it, and then it immediately said Rangers are eyeing the goalkeeper, whose third choice for Sunderland, valued at around £8 million. So I just closed it. I kind of thought, we're not paying that for a third choice goalie. Apparently he's very highly rated, had a good time at Millwall, on loan, played 19 games for them. Do you know much about him?
No, I heard this today, but again, what I do believe is that Rangers, when they had inquired about him, were quoted it was £8 million. And I don't genuinely feel that a third choice keeper at Sunderland, we shouldn't be paying £8 million for that, mate. Not when he's unproven. He's done. He's had some games in the Championship. Yeah, I get it, but yeah, at £8 million, I want as close to the finished article as you can get in goals, because that's a huge investment for us for a goalkeeper, But yeah, funny enough, I had actually heard that last comment that what people had said about him was that his distribution wasn't great. I don't know. Again, it's just one of these things that we get inundated with this stuff every single summer, Stevie. It's just the start of it for us now, but we know full well that we'll get hit with about 50 to 60 names a week, and we know the majority of them aren't going to happen, so it's very difficult, because we need to talk about them because it's in the news, but I don't see that one happening, mate. Not at all.
£8 million for a guy that can't pass and is terrible at crosses. We've got a whole squad full of them. Scotland won 4-1 at the weekend, Kenny. Huge for Rangers' involvement. Lawrence Shankland scoring 2. Finlay Curtis came on. Ironically, the injured Billy Gilmore, and scored in the 4-1 win. Also won the penalty as well. Looked very comfortable. Finlay Curtis doing what Finlay Curtis does. As soon as he gets in the box, he will shoot no matter what. We're long-time admirers of Finlay Curtis. Lawrence Shankland as well. I thought Lawrence looked absolutely excellent. He just done what he does, doesn't he? He just scores goals. He will score goals, and you get the odd chance in, and he's going to take it. So good result for Scotland. Obviously, devastating news for Billy. I knew as soon as he went down, I absolutely knew it. I knew when he was walking off. When I visited him in Naples in January, that was the same thing that he had in his knee, and he was off for 2 or 3 months. And the way he went off and he went up the tunnel and he was kind of going like that with his hands, I had the biggest fear in my mind that he'd done it again. And sure enough, a really, really tough one to take. Incidentally, I thought the sun coverage of him trying to hobble into his car and all that was absolutely gutter-like. Who does that? Who photographs stuff like that? Really, really poor of them. A huge blow for Billy. The only good thing is he's young and he's got time on his side, so hopefully we'll get another World Cup at some point for him. But from a Rangers point of view, Shankland and Curtis, Curtis I think has to get an extension, which he will get, and he has to be part of that squad next year. I think that's undoubted, and we have to make sure we give him enough game time also.
No, yeah. For me, there's no doubt in this week that we I think we were probably quite right to send him out on loan. The boy wanted to get out on loan and get his game time. So he's proved himself to a level where he can play week in, week out with Kavanagh, score lots of goals. Got himself into the international squad, got himself off to the World Cup, which is fantastic for the boy, and took his goal very, very well. And it's one of those things that he has that real natural ability, Stevie, to find the corner all the time. Now, he's not going to score every strike, and it's not the greatest of strikes that he scores with, but he still gets that placement on it and gets it away for that keeper. And I think it goes in between the defender's legs, if I remember right, and it's right in the corner. And we've seen him do it over and over again this season, and he's got to be a regular in our team next season for me, genuine regular. I'd be looking to see if we're going to play 60 games, Stevie, I want that boy playing 30 of them. Get him integrated into the squad because he is a proper talent and he's a real prospect for the future as well. On Shankland, yeah, he's just got an incredible knack of knowing what to do and where to be at the right time. His first goal kind of epitomises that, where they actually make an arse of the set piece, and he adjusts his position and gets slightly farther forward, and he's almost in front of the near post, and it's a wonderful wee finish to get in the corner there. And listen, Shankland is going to score goals for us. I hope he goes and has a great World Cup. But he's clearly a very, very talented player. And I'm not, again, this is one of the things that you were talking about, going to play with two. I would expect Lawrence Shankland to be the one that plays slightly deeper if he's playing in the two, because he's done it for Hearts and he's done it very well. So it'll be interesting to see what we do next season, what our shape's going to be. And finally, on Billy Gilmour, pass him my condolences, mate. That's devastating news. And yeah, there's not a lot you can say about something like that. It's just shit timing, bad timing. I'll agree with you on the sun. That's just a rag that does something like that. When someone's clearly in a bit of anguish and a bit of distress, why are you taking pictures of people like that? It's just, yeah, but it is the Red Talks, mate. We expect nothing less of them, but yeah, let's hope he gets a speedy recovery and he's all right for, if not the start of next season, then fairly, soon into it. But disappointed for him, devastated for him.
Yeah, it's a tough one, that's for sure. Kenny, Rangers women lost the Scottish Cup final yesterday, which was just a nail in the coffin of a trio of big games lost. The women went to the League Cup final, got beat by Glasgow City 2-1. They went to the last day of the season, capitulated against Glasgow City and got beat 6-0. Yesterday, they had a player advantage for the last half an hour, I think, if memory serves me right. Didn't create, just didn't do anything, just didn't look likely. I'm going to talk about this in a minute because there is context to absolutely everything. And a lot of people in the comments, why is Leanne Crichton still in charge of Rangers women? I'm going to tell you why in just a wee second. Kenny, we've been to a few women games this year. The quality's just not been there when they've actually needed it. And there's explanations and there's context to why, but sadly, here's a bit where it probably goes a bit wider range. I don't think Celtic had beat Rangers in 12 games or something up until yesterday. We'd won the last 7. And then it gets to a final and they completely capitulate when it's needed. A mentality thing, possibly, but this is a really young team, 16-year-olds playing and stuff like that. It's very difficult to be critical of them, and I'm going to explain it in a wee minute, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on yesterday and why, and your thoughts on everything.
Well, where do you start with this? It's disappointing that you lose a cup final, and their performances and results in cup finals over the last few years have been very tidy, they've been very decent, so that's disappointing. You're right to lose to Celtic for the first time in, I think it was 12, 13 games or something like that, wasn't it? Is incredibly disappointing when, you know, there's a cup and a medal on the line for the girls. But there is mitigating circumstances for this, because when I've watched them, I've actually felt they've been a little bit naive at times as a team, really quite naive. I think when you look at the experience that they've got, there's been a lot of injuries in experienced players this season. There's also been a situation where you look at some of them not being at their best as well, and trying to bring a lot of young kids through at the same time. It's not been an easy season. There has been cost cutting, there has been downsizing last summer. We have to appreciate that and say that it's been to the detriment of the women's team. There's just no question of that. However, I don't like overly criticising. However, you've got to say they have shat the bed at the crunch times this season. There's just no getting away from it. So disappointing all round for the women's team. And I do understand the criticism of Leanne Crichton, because I feel like there's been a few times that Leanne has turned around and said a few things that I actually just don't like a manager coming out and saying. But I'll let you discuss that further, because I know you're much more privy to some of the information, mate. But I just feel that it's peak Rangers, isn't it? To shit the bed when the chips are down. So that's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah, we'll just quickly go over this. Leanne Crichton, when she first came in, I think there was 10 days to start the season, Rangers lost both their top scorers, who I think had 60 goals between them last year, in Howitt and Hardy. They lost Chelsea Cornet in midfield, they lost Kirsty McLean, they lost Tess Middag, they lost Vic Essen in goals as well, just to mention a few. This year's have had big injuries to Cathy Hill as well, so the whole experience and the whole quality was completely ripped away. They did not replace them because the budget was completely cut. Rangers weren't expected to do anything this season. I can tell you that quite honestly. They've got second, they've got Champions League football. They've also managed to get to 2 finals, and they took it to the last day. Now listen, nobody should be getting beat 6-0 when it comes to Rangers. We all understand that. But they've actually probably did really well this season, considering that one of the girls that started just turned 16 last summer and played the whole season. A 16-year-old, she's now England under-19s international. There's other kids in that team, Lily Boyce and things, 16, 17-year-olds playing. And that's what they've been forced to do. And it's been good. It's been good for them. But I think when people are just shouting about Leanne Crichton getting sacked and things, I think there's context that people miss out and everything. Rangers have slashed that budget. They've actually done everything that people have wanted to do. Women's football shite, women's football's this, women's football's that. Cut it. Rangers can't cut it. It's a prerequisite of European football, and it's also an FFP cutout as well. So it's here to stay. But what Rangers have done is slash the budget completely of what people have asked to do. So when you're coming on in the comments and you're very uneducated about why we talking about this, why we talking about that, you will be banned. And that's exactly what's happened. If people want to talk like that, it's Rangers. We'll discuss them at all levels. Disappointing. We've covered women's football on this channel quite a lot, and honestly, there isn't an overwhelming urge for it. I think people like the odd update, Kenny, which is what we try to do. We don't try and ram it down people's throats or anything, but we do give the odd updates, and it is Rangers after all, so we will cover it as best we can. But do you know what? And I know this sounds really bad. See, given everything that's happened to the women's side, I'm not too disappointed with the season that they've had. I'm disappointed they lost the finals. I'm disappointed in the 6-0 hammering against Glasgow City. Glasgow City, incidentally, have got twice the budget of Rangers. They absolutely monopolise at that level. They pay wages that we don't. Just to give you another thing as well, the average women's footballer will get £30,000 a year. The average Rangers man's football gets £30,000 a week. That's the levels we're talking about, and the finances that it costs Rangers to run the women's team compared to what it does in the men's. It's there for a reason. It gives opportunities to young kids to go along, see Rangers for the first time and things like that as well. So, Kenny, with all that said, it's been a disappointing one, but one, I think, with a very young squad, and with that being cut like that, I think Rangers take it and they move on. They can at least enjoy European football next season.
Yeah, and listen, it's very difficult, and I'm with you on this. I love it when people come on here and start dictating about what we should and shouldn't be talking about. We'll decide that. Thank you. This is kind of our show. Do you know what I mean? It's just mad, but look, it's difficult to turn around and, as I say, be overly critical, because I totally agree with you in terms of the budget. I could be wrong, but I think if I remember right, the budget was slashed in half last season. It went from about the best part of £1 million to below £500,000, if I remember right. And that's a massive drop. You can't really recover from that in terms of replacing like for like. It's just not going to happen. So it's difficult, mate, but I just find that it's one of these things that it kind of epitomises Rangers and where we are at the moment, that you just think, do you know what, the men are good at this, the women are good at this, you know, getting to a point where it's crunch time and not fully grasping the opportunities. And it's, as I say, it's frustrating to see them like that yesterday, where they dominated the entire game and just couldn't score. I mean, it was that simple. They just didn't have the wherewithal or the creativity to finish it off, you know. So it's difficult, but I don't know what else you want me to say, mate. It's just it's like a mirror image or a photocopy of the men's team at the moment for me.
I may as well say this now. Headkeeper said, stalled Davies' interview with Derek Parlane to catch this show. Piss poor planning. Yes, for all members, and you can become a member by. Oh shit, Kenny, I'm going to have to find this again. Remember last time that was an absolute disaster. Right, somewhere on this. Oh no. Yes, there it is up there. You can click on that little QR code and become a member, which is up there, isn't it? Up there somewhere. And you can become a member of the show. For members, just released is episode 8 of the Rangers Years, which is an in-depth interview with Derek Parlane, which Davey Heard has sat down and done. Derek being an absolute legend of the football club over 10 years, part of the 1972 Barca Bear squad. He was one of the ones, famously, I think, that was penciled in, wasn't he? Number 7, who had 2 or 3 of them all penned in. I think he made the bench that night. Scored 112 goals in over 300 appearances. Derek Parlane, I think, was certainly my old man's favourite Rangers player. So if you're a member, please go and check that out as a bonus show. For non-members and just us ordinary punters, episode 7 of the Rangers Years, which was an interview with Willie Matheson, our left back from that 1972 European Cup Winners' Cup triumph, is now live. Willie, in his mid 80s, I think it was the first and only podcast he's ever done, and wanted to come on and talk to Davey about about Rangers. And Kenny, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you caught the recent Rangers history show with Davey, and Davey said, I would love to go and get Mark Walters as his next episode. Well, I can tell you, folks, that episode 9 will indeed be Mark Walters. He is coming on next month. So I think Davey was, he went so high pitched that the animals in Scotland could understand him when he was talking about that. It's brilliant for Davey. He loves doing all this sort of stuff. So Mark Walters will be coming on very soon, and I'll be keen to see that. What a player he was, Kenny.
Top baller was Mark Walters. Proper player. And yeah, that's a great coup. That's a magnificent get, that one. Big Mark Everton Walters, what a player. Absolutely fantastic. I'm actually buzzing about that, and I can only say to everybody and anybody watching here tonight, go and watch the Willie Matheson interview. It is genuinely brilliant, and again, an honour for us to get a guy of like that to want to come on and do it for us. You know, it's just fantastic, isn't it? But Davey's hard grafting. He's going away on another holiday in a couple of weeks, so he's grafting all week. So we had given him a night off tonight, haven't we? Because he's trying to get stuff recorded for going away. So yeah, can't praise Davey enough actually with the stuff he does. It's brilliant. So yeah, I'm buzzing about that actually. Mark Walters, I'll be watching that.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. What we've tried to do, folks, in the Rangers years is give you recent stuff, give you old stuff, give you kind of middle in between, so that everybody can enjoy it from various years. I know there was a complaint from somebody last week saying as a youngster he's kind of sick of hearing from the older guys in success. If that lad wants to go and get me Steven Gerrard, and believe me, I have tried several times, and I'll keep trying, and we'll keep trying to get more regular and more recent players. I think I would love to do that. So we'll keep asking. We'll see who comes up. Kenny, Andrew Kavanagh spoke about his first year in charge. He said he was disappointed not to win the title. Ultimately, it's not a success for him because of that. Learned a lot. 49ers involvement still key for him. They're still very invested, still very into it. Rangers have got under his skin, and he said the same for others, including Parag Marathi. I think the thing with Parag Marathi is he might not be on the board, but he's very much still pulling the strings. He's very much still pulling, you know, in the right direction. I think as well, with Leeds not being in Europe, you might see Parag getting put back on the board. I think it's going to be like that. He might jump off if Leeds are near Europe and Rangers are in Europe. They might kind of take him off and add him back on when it suits and things like that. So I think that he's been quite honest. Andrew Kavanagh is somebody that I've spoke about quite a lot. But what did you make of his words on his first year?
They were interesting. They were honest. They were frank. That's for sure, because he did, and he was at pains to let people know that he understands and understood that it was a failure of a season, but he was very pointed to not say that it was fun or he enjoyed it. But I do get the funny feeling he did have fun and enjoy the learning process. But ultimately, he's not going to say he had fun and enjoyed it when he knows that might piss us off. But he shouldn't, because if I just want somebody like that to be honest. I don't want him to tell us any lies or tell us what we want to hear. I actually think that if he, and I understand that he's wary of saying the words, enjoyed it and had fun, but if he did have fun doing it, then I don't mind that actually. I didn't have fun last season at all, but not in any way, shape or form. I thought it was a flaming nightmare. But it is one of these things that I would look at and say that the interviews that he's done over the last couple of weeks, Stevie, that they've been really interesting because he is learning on the job and he's not denying that. He's been really quite front and centre about it, saying, look, and we understand a lot better now what we need to do, which is all he can really say. He's got to get this right next season, Stevie. We all know that. Him and Parag Marathi and the board have got to get a winning formula in place. They have to understand that the mistakes of the beginning of last season with Russell Martin, when we were all telling everybody, not just us on four lads, everybody was telling Russell Martin's not going to work up here. That type of football isn't going to work here. But there was people there, perhaps Kevin Thurman, that thought, I'll just bring this guy up and show you how it's done. And we were all sitting going, it's still not going to work up here, because you listen to Russell Martin and you know that he's talking shite. And he's an imposter. He's just an imposter of a guy for me. Yeah, he knows football to a certain degree, but at the same time, when you sit there and as a Rangers manager or a Rangers coach, and you try and tell us that it's all about players creating space when there's two banks of five and they're just going to stand still, you're not going to create any space. So it's wee things like that that he's learned quickly from, that projects and project managers, they're not going to work. We need proper players. He's already identified it, Stevie. Leaders, winners, experience, that's what he's going to try and bring in. So, yeah, not a lot else I can say really about what he said.
No, a question here from Andrew. You should try and get Mr. Kavanagh on the pod. Kenny will know this. He's told us he does indeed watch the pod, which is a huge honour. And he's got an open invite. So he's very welcome to come on. No issues at all. He knows that Kenny, the VAR show. Let me just get rid of this little parasite in the comments. Thank you. Sorry about that, folks. The VAR show, Kenny. I'm loath to discuss this, right? I'm just going to say it straight away, and before we get into anything else, the VAR review show was absolutely horrendous viewing. It was cringeworthy. It was full of contradictions everywhere. The Alistair Johnson tackle on Mikey Moore boot to boot was the biggest pile of honking pish that I've ever heard. When you just do the stills and you can see it's well up his ankle and everything else. The arrogance of Stephen McLean, as you said, beaten. How quickly did they decide that was a penalty, by the way? Did it definitely hit his hand? Use your fucking eyes. Of course it doesn't. Did it? Just, do you know what? See, put all that aside, and I'll say the same thing that I always say on this, right? Every single team has had crappy decisions this season. Every single team has had little decisions go for them. Some much more than others, some at key times, right? And that's undeniable. The run-in, I think everybody, not only in Scottish football, but British and European football, looked at that and said that was absolutely hideous. That's not me just saying that, it was fact. One singular thing it comes down to me, and I will keep continuing to say it, Willie Collum has to go. He is clueless, the standard is getting worse, and he is now making a regular fool of himself. He's defending the indefendable. We can't use words like corrupt, and we can't use words like cheating. These are words that other people have used to describe Scottish football and the close of it in the final weeks. I think genuinely Willie Collum is at the head of absolute all of it. Neil Doncaster continues to bring Scottish football down by even being in the vicinity of it. I can't be arsed talking about the individual levels of the refs because I think they're awfully poor. And I think it just shows you we had a goalie get kicked in the head this year and we were told it was all good and it was all fine. Willie Collum needs removed. That's it. Final straw for me. The whole thing needs ripped up and started again, but you need somebody with a fresh pair of eyes and somebody that's qualified. Scotland haven't got any referees in the international stage because of the levels of their performances week on and week out. Imagine going to a monitor and saying, did it definitely hit his hand? Use your eyes. Everybody can see it hit his head. Did it definitely hit his hand? Aye, mate. So penalty straight away. Whereas other decisions, I've seen them take longer trying to deny Rangers goals than they have at times. So, honest to God, if Scott, there's no point in us going on about it, in my opinion. Willie Collum has to go. And until Willie Collum goes, we're going to get this regular cycle of just substandard pish. And that's exactly what it is.
I think the first time I called for Willie Collum to be removed was after the Hibs game, where we scored a goal and they told us that VAR couldn't tell us. It was at Easter Road. I think it was Nico Raskin, wasn't it? But we scored the goal where it goes so far in beyond the line that the side netting's rippling for about a second and a half before a guy tries to bring it back out. And it's clearly miles behind the post, which means it's behind the line. And they tried to tell us that VAR couldn't determine whether it was a goal or not. Well, all you need to do is open your fucking eyes and look at it. It's in the side netting, right? It's clearly a goal. And that's when you realise this is just an absolute nonsense. There's a number of things I'll say very quickly on this because I agree with you. I put this in the agenda because we're struggling for topics for tonight, but it's still because it was last Friday. That VAR review show. If the SFA, I don't know what powers the review. There's a referees panel. Or a referees committee, and I don't know what powers they have over the referees, but if they have any power whatsoever, they'll be turning around and telling Willie Collum that he's not going on television ever again to spare his own blushes, because the amount of people that have picked up month to month on whatever it is he's saying and then contradicting himself a month later, 2 months later, it's now beyond contemptible. Like, you're just making shit up to suit your own agenda, and it's not good enough. Where you can turn around and say, well, you can see the leg bend, and then turn around and say with the Oxlade-Chamberlain one, well, it's on the boot, even though his legs bent like a C shape. I mean, it is absolutely insane, this, Stevie. It is. And yeah, the handball with the boy, was it Matheson, is that his name? The Motherwell player that gets the penalty against him. Something that's been forgotten about all this absolute madness of John Beaton going, did it hit his hand? Is, well, the very fact that you don't know means that you shouldn't be correcting your on-field decision. And the very fact that I've now looked at the incident 150 times and I have no fucking clue if it hits his hand at all. Genuinely. Because I'm looking at giving it, well, I don't know, his hand's in the air, but it seems to come off his head. I genuinely can't tell one way or another. And it shows you if it's not one thing that we don't want to speak about, it's just ineptitude to depraved levels. It's just bonkers. Do you know what I mean? That you cannot possibly sit there and look at Stephen McLean raging when he's getting sent to a monitor and going, give me a better angle than that. Well, what other angles do you need? Slow it down. Okay, we'll slow it down. Clear trip. Not giving it. It's the arrogance of these people, Stevie, that needs highlighted, and it's coming from the top. They are being allowed to do this because Willie Collum is just scattergunning, taking a machine gun to his own opinion week to week to suit his own agenda. Now, we all know what that agenda is, but the bottom line is this isn't acceptable, and the SFA have to get that VAR review show binned because it's laughable. It's a genuine embarrassment. You're seeing people down south now, when you go onto Twitter and X, when Sky Sports are putting these wee clips up, giving it, and they're literally giving it, fucking hell, are you seeing Scotland? Look at this, and retweeting it to the hilarity of the population of the United Kingdom. That's how laughable, contemptible, and just utterly useless it is. And I don't know what else to say, mate. We've been banging on since the day we started on here about these guys. It is beyond belief how bad they are. Genuinely beyond belief. So, yeah, get Willie Collum to buggery is what I'll say.
5 minutes you went on for there, and I just let it. I just let it happen. I love it when you go on a wee rant. It's absolutely magic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everybody that has tuned in. We tried our very best on limited things to talk about to give you a show. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep turning up. We'll keep doing this during the summer. We're back on Wednesday night, Kenny and I again. So we will be back, hopefully with some more news to talk about. At least when the World Cup starts, we can kind of mix it up. We'll be linked with some players, no doubt. We can keep an eye on our own players as well. Lawrence Shankland to win the World Cup Golden Boot with 5 or 6 goals will keep us all entertained, won't it, Kenny? So, Kenny, thank you for your time, mate. Much appreciated.
Not at all. If he wins a Golden Boot, mate, we might sell him for 40 million quid, make a fortune, really annoy Hearts. But nah, listen, I'm really looking forward to Lawrence Shankland playing for Rangers. I think he's going to be a very good signing for us. Thanks for the show, mate. And we got there. We've managed to get the best part of an hour out of that when there was literally nothing to talk about. So, well done, us.
I was just kind of thinking if we got to 20 minutes and got stuck, I would just ask you about the refs, and that would take up quite a while. So we were all right. We knew we were doing fine. Folks, as I said earlier on in the show, if you want to become a member, the podcast with Derek Parlane has just went live with Davey. All members can watch that. To become a member, just click on the QR code, which is up in the corner of the screen, for as little as 99p. Why do that? Because you get extra content. And you also get ad-free every single show. And bottom line, for 99p a month, you're supporting Kenny and I, you're supporting Four Lads Had a Dream podcast. Helps us get equipment, it helps us follow Rangers home and away. And it's support for us, which we thoroughly appreciate. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection, and Joinery Athol Industrial Solution, CSD Air Conditioning, Candid, and our Sunday sponsored Rangers Youth Development Company, which you can find rydc.co.uk. I'm pretty sure that I'm dropping in a wee interview with Colin Stewart from RYDC soon, so that will be worth watching as well, folks. All I can say is huge thanks. If you want to contact us, please do it fourladsadream@gmail.com. 4 is spelt 4. Please do. We are looking for sponsors for next season. If you can help the podcast, please get in touch. We would thoroughly appreciate it. So to everybody, have a good couple of days. We'll be back Wednesday night. We will see you then early on Wednesday. Wednesday, I think, will be 5:45, 6 o'clock time. It's always a difficult one because there's training and football and all sorts of stuff going on. Friday night as well, the boys are back. Amrit and Co. They are doing a season review. Part 1 is on Friday night. I decided not to join in. I can't relive the pain of certain things, but Amrit will be worth tuning in just to hear, I think, from him. But you got an hour tonight, folks. I hope that was good. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for all your support, all your comments. We just passed 13,000 subs on YouTube. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do so because it really helps us. Thank you, folks. Take care. Have a wonderful evening. See you Wednesday. Bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.